Hello, and my name is Ashley Katz, and my research proposal is going to be about the effectiveness of inclusivity activities within the classroom. So currently, DEI programs, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion, these programs are being eliminated by companies and also institutions across the country. So companies have been quietly eliminating their diversity or their DEI programs. The most recent, this over the summer, Ford, Lowe's, Harley-Davidson, John Deere, and Tractor Supply have all dropped their DEI programs. So this has been influenced by a ex-influencer, Starbuck. And Robbie Starbuck, what he does is he has about 500,000 followers on X. And what he does is he highlights the disconnect between conservative consumers' impulses, their how they feel about political issues and corporate policies. So for an example, he highlighted how in the Midwest, a Midwest farmer doesn't who buys from John Deere doesn't really care as much about transgender medical care as opposed to somebody else. So he's been highlighting this difference and he's been really effective over it. But it's not just private companies that are being influenced. This is also happening to states and institutions and schools. So currently, there's the states that have passed laws or legislation that limit or ban DEI efforts in schools are currently up to 14. It began with Texas, but then it quickly went over to Florida, Idaho, Iowa, North Carolina, North Dakota. All of these states limit or ban DEI efforts in schools. So this all began in 2023 when the Supreme Court rolled back affirmative action. Within a year, right-leaning public interest groups began filing lawsuits, and they began dismantling corporate and government programs. So basically, these interest groups are suing companies, and and it's costing them a lot of money for discrimination. So now a lot of companies and institutions are preemptively terminating fellowships and diversity statements in an effort to avoid costly litigation fees. So they don't want to they're trying to avoid litigation fees. So some of the common reasons that are cited for, So some of the common reasons that are cited is that it limits the freedom of expression and diversity of thought on campus. It also elevates racial and gender identities over individual merit. And some consider the DEI programs, such as affirmative action, a litmus test. So basically, all in all, they're saying that the conservative groups are saying that it's a form of discrimination. That people are being discriminated against based on their racial and gender identities. So, and also, by the way, a litmus test is an opinion or political moral issue that is used to make a judgment about whether someone or something is acceptable. So right now, I think that the narrative is being seen as DEI programs being just kind of like good for individual people and not necessarily, and then it's good for emotional and social benefits and not necessarily hard data. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to show a correlation between higher test scores and the use of diversity activities. So my research question is, do students who perceive a high level of inclusivity feel more confident and capable in their learning? If there is an increase, does this boost in confidence and capability result in higher test scores? So the context of my study is that I'm going to be doing this study at Bonnie Slope Elementary School in Miss Taylor's fourth grade class. At the school, there are 27 different languages that are spoken. It's a very affluent community in the Bethany area. and it's very multicultural. It has a high percentage of Asian and Indian exchange students. And also within the classroom, there are an amazing amount of diversity activities on a daily basis. I've seen everything from cultural show and tell, where I saw Aditya bring in his precious ceremonial prayer bag, where it had a bunch of precious gems and stones in it that he found that had ceremonial meaning. And he also had a beaded prayer necklace that he used daily, and he explained all these items. And this was a very positive experience. And I saw a lot of interest from other students. I saw Aditya having a positive reaction to it. It was just a very awesome experience. Then I also have seen read alouds with discussions. So the class is reading as a group. They've been reading Out of My Mind, and way before it was a movie. And each chapter that they read, they had a group discussion about each chapter and how discrimination played out in Melody's life, and how it was played out in the schools that she went to, in the at the airport, everything. That's just highlighting how Melody deals with discrimination. And that segued into a discussion about social sciences. And she created a display of the types of discrimination. And it will, I've also seen her have group projects with diverse roles. So this classroom has more diversity, equity, and inclusion activities on a daily basis than I've ever seen. So what I'm going to do is simply interview the students about these activities that are already taking place. My research, design, and tradition, I'm using a mixed methods design and a pragmatic paradigm. In my quantitative survey, I'm going to have approximately 15 questions, potentially more. There will be close-ended questions with 5 potential responses: strongly agree, agree, neither disagree nor agree, disagree, and strongly disagree. So these questions would be surrounding perceived confidence, such as I feel more confident about my work when I work with other students. Increased participation. I look forward to coming to school more when I feel accepted by my classmates. In the qualitative interview, it'll be approximately 5 open-ended questions, and the questions will have to deal with perceived confidence, such as how does working with your classmates make you feel about your own skills and abilities? Levels of engagement. Do you feel like you are more engaged with the material if you are working within a group as opposed to on your own? And then finally, I'm also going to compare the test scores. So in May, when Ms. Taylor's class takes the National Assessment of Educational Progress, I'm going to compare Ms. Taylor's class against the test scores averaged for the state of Oregon. And I'll be using a t-test, statistical t-test, in order to compare the result, or to compare the two groups. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great day.